Greetings, students, and today I'm talking to you from my home office studio, which, as you can see, is not quite as fancy as the studio that we have at school. There is no acoustic foam on the walls. You can probably hear a really loud echo with my voice because this is my house and it's not a professional recording studio. And that's okay, because what I want to talk to you about is the fact that you can produce audio on a budget. You don't have to have a fancy studio and a big soundboard and all kinds of expensive speakers and microphones and things. The camera that I'm using to record this right now, by the way, is the DJI Osmo action camera, which has a pretty lousy microphone on it. So yes, we're still producing things. You can still hear me. It still works. But the quality is not going to be the same as what you hear and see in our studio at school. But you can still produce things on a budget. And kind of the first thing I want to show you today is this little beauty. Take a look at this thing. This is a Tascam DR40 audio recorder, and we've looked at this before, some of you. These are the two microphones, so it's got stereo microphones. And the nice thing about the DR40 is it's got XLR and 1/4-inch inputs. So you can take professional microphones, plug them into this audio recorder, and by the way, you can pick these up on Amazon for $180, and it is basically a recording studio in your pocket. You know, you don't have to buy a big soundboard. This thing will do sound mixing for you. You don't have to buy a computer even. This thing is the computer. And so if you like to record live shows, if you go to concerts and you like to make bootleg recordings of concerts, this is the thing to have, because it will, if you have really large pockets, it will fit in your pocket. So, and it's a lot cheaper than buying a laptop and audio interface and all kinds of expensive stuff like that. So I just wanted to put this out there as something that you can do if you're interested in saving money. And there's something else that I thought of, which is you can get one of these, which is a smartphone. You may already have one of those. That might even be a cheaper option for you. The nice thing about a smartphone is you can just use the voice memo feature of your phone, and you can be recording audio that way. And you can, if you have a headphone jack or a Bluetooth connection, you can take a microphone and plug a microphone into your phone, and that's going to be cheaper than a soundboard and speakers and really expensive audio stuff. So I just wanted to put some budget options out there for you to think about if you're interested in producing audio. But anyway, I'm ready to do some work on my computer today. I want to do some audio editing on the computer with some of the stuff that we shot last time. And I'll show you the mic that I'm going to use. Listen to the sound of my voice right now. It probably doesn't sound all that great because the mic on this Osmo camera is not so great. But as soon as I start working on the computer, I am going to use this thing, the Rode Videomic Pro microphone. It's powered. It's got a 9-volt battery in there. You turn it on and it amplifies your signal. And the nice thing about this is it's made to fit on your DSLR camera, but you can also plug it straight into your computer without any fancy hardware, because it uses a standard aux cable, a mini jack that will plug right into your computer. And so we're going to use that to record the audio for the next segment coming up. But we're going to do some serious audio editing on the computer here, and let's get started. Okay, here we go. So this is a piece of software called Adobe Audition, and it's by the software company that makes Photoshop, and it's made for audio editing. And I want to show you kind of the finished product. So take a listen to the finished product, and then I'll show you how we built it, and we'll kind of build it back up from scratch a little bit. Take a listen to this.
In a world of magic and mystery, one man will have the adventure of a lifetime. And yes, there will be explosions.
Wow, I love it. Super cool, right? You might have noticed that audio track from the previous video that we did. Play that video back. That's the one about the microphones that we recorded in our studio. and you'll get to see where this clip came from. In fact, let me jump over real quick into Premiere. This is the video I'm talking about. Let's just play this little section back right here.
World of magic and mystery. One man will have the adventure of a...
Okay, pretty cool, right? Take a look at the software that's recording my voice on the computer right here. So there's all kinds of software you can get for audio editing, but it's kind of nice to start with the cheap and free stuff. That's what this is. This is this is Audacity. And Audacity looks like this. And it's free, and you can download it for free. And it works. And you can put multiple tracks right here, so you can put sound effects and things like that. And you can play it.
In a world of magic and mystery.
And it works, and it is free. But of course, there's more powerful, more advanced stuff out there that I want to talk to you about real quick. If you are on a Mac, you are going to want to use GarageBand. Definitely look into GarageBand if you're on a Mac for creating beats or recording audio, doing audio editing. It is really good stuff. If you are on a PC, I would recommend this piece of software. It's called Avid Pro Tools. So if you do a Google search for Avid Pro Tools, they have a free version called First. And I haven't used it yet, but I'm going to look into it, see if we can get it at school. But this is some good audio editing stuff. The professional version of Pro Tools is very expensive, and a lot of people use it. So the free version, I've heard, is still very good. So you got some choices. You've got Avid Pro Tools First, you've got GarageBand if you're on a Mac, and you've got Audacity, which is this one, which is free. But just to confuse you a little bit more, what I'm going to be using today is Adobe Audition, which looks nice and colorful. And if you have Adobe software, that's going to come with your Creative Cloud subscription. So let's play this back again, and then I'll break it down and teach you what the different pieces are. Here's the playhead. You can scrub the playhead forward and backward. We're going to want to watch the levels down here. You never want your levels to get at 0 or above. So we're going to, if we want this to be loud and exciting, we're going to want our levels peaking somewhere over in here. But let's play through this and take another listen.
In a world of magic and mystery, one man will have the adventure of a lifetime. And yes, there will be explosions.
Super cool. I love it. Well, let's start with, let's take a look at the workspace here, the screen. Your different sound effect files are going to live here. So I have one sound effect file that's this one. By the way, this graph is called a waveform, and that's what your song or your voice looks like on the computer. So that's the choir, and that is one of the tracks that we're layering into this finished product. And this was a free download that comes along with Adobe Audition. Here comes the explosion. I love the sound of the breaking glass and stuff. This is really high quality. These are high quality audio files. They're WAV files, which is kind of like an MP3, except a lot bigger and higher quality, and it takes longer to download. WAV files are very standard. You're going to see those used a lot. Here's another clip. Very orchestral. I thought that sounded nice. It had some good dramatic tension in it, and I thought it would layer nicely with these other sound effect files. Here's take one from the microphone video that we recorded a couple days ago.
In a world of magic and mystery.
So you know what that one is. The effects rack right here, whenever we process our tracks and we put effects onto them, they're going to show up here. And let's go back into the mixer. Oh, I don't think that's what I wanted. How do I get back? I think you have to go over here to your session file and double click your session file. Now we're back. This is what I thought was the mixer, but I guess that's the session file. So you've got all these different tracks and we're layering them together, and it gets kind of confusing when you see so many, but let's take them one at a time. Let's take this first track, which is muted right now. I'm going to unmute it and I'm going to solo it, which means we're only going to hear this one track all by itself.
In a world of magic and mystery.
So you can kind of see where some of the different sentences are or the different words, and you can see which is the loudest by looking at the amplitude of the waveform here. So on this take, the loudest one was this word coming up right here.
Of a lifetime.
So it must have been of was the loudest one. Cool. Well, let's unmute this track and let's solo this track. And what's the loudest, what's the highest peak on this one? Maybe this one, maybe this one.
One man.
Maybe it's one man.
Of a life.
Maybe it's of a lifetime. What I did notice is that the third take compared to voiceover take 1 and voiceover take 2, this third one seemed to go a little quicker. So you sometimes speed things up when you know your line so well, you just fly through it. But these two takes, I like the ones that are stretched out a little bit longer. I listened to all these, they sound roughly the same. The only difference is some words are a little bit louder in this one instead of some of the other ones. So you've learned what mute does, you've learned what solo does. Let's listen to the choir all by itself. Very lovely. I had to turn down the volume on the choir. It's at -15 decibels. By the way, sound, the loudness of sound is usually measured in decibels. So we turned that down so that it's not too loud so you can hear my voice. And this yellow line right here, we can stretch it out like that. And that's how long the fade in lasts for. I wanted to fade in the sound of the choir. Same thing with the strings down here. Let's solo our strings. You can see those fade in and they also fade out right before we hit the explosion. Let's solo the explosion. Nice and loud, and then it fades out at the end. So we've got choir, we've got strings, and you hear both of those at the same time, and then we've got explosion. And then my voice is up here, and that's called the voiceover. And I ended up using take 2. And you'll notice that take 2 has a graphic equalizer effect on this clip. And I'll show you what that is by creating a new one on track 1. So let's work with just track 1. Let's solo.
And mystery.
Solo track 1. And I'm going to do something right now that may drive you a little bit crazy. I'm going to hit the I key on my keyboard and set an in point.
In a world.
And then I'm going to do O on my keyboard for out. And if I hit spacebar for play,
in a world, in a world, in a world, in a world.
It's going to drive you crazy, I know, but that's how you loop the playback, and that's really useful for what we want to do. We want to click on this clip, and we want to add an effect to it. So let's go into the effects menu. And by the way, this is pretty similar in whatever software you're using. If you're using GarageBand or Audacity, it's kind of the same process. So if I teach you this in an Audition, it's going to translate into other software that you're going to use. So let's take a look at our effects. So many fun effects that you'll want to check out. But I want to do an EQ, an equalization, which will make the bass bassier and the treble louder and crisper. We're going to do a graphic equalizer 20 bands. And that's an EQ filter. And it pops up this little window here. What I like about some of the nicer software is that I can keep this window open and I can move all of these values around while I'm looping through playback on here. It doesn't work quite the same in Audacity. It's much nicer here in Audition. So I'm gonna hit the space bar and let's see if you can, and by the way, I hope you're listening on good speakers or good headphones so you can hear what these different levels are gonna do. First thing I want to do is increase the bass. So listen for that.
World, in a 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 world.
Okay, starting to drive you crazy, right? Sorry about that. And you notice we're starting to clip our values right here. So there is such a thing as too much bass. So let's bring that down to something more reasonable. And this is driving me crazy. Let's get a different segment to listen to by adjusting our in and out points and spacebar.
One man will have the adventure. 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 One man will.
So the next thing I want to show you is this little effect button where we can turn the effect on and off to see what the difference is or hear what the difference is. So let's take a listen.
Will have the adventure. One man 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 will have the adventure.
So the difference is pretty slight. You might not be able to hear it. Let's make it more pronounced just so it's more obvious. But when that green light is on, the effect is on. When the green light is off, you don't have your effect anymore. We're wanting this to sound extra dramatic, so that's why we're using this EQ, the equalizer.
One man will have the adventure. One man will have the adventure. One man will have the adventure. One man will have the adventure.
Okay, hopefully you got the point. So our effects are going to live over here, and it only applies to this track, which is actually not the track I want. The one that I actually took the time to work on was this one. So let's see what that one looks like. Pretty similar to what we were just working on, but a little bit flatter. So this is a bass over here, so I raised the bass levels, and this is the treble over here. I thought raising the treble, and the treble is the high frequency. Raising it up just a little bit does make it sound better.
Man will have the adventure. One man.
And tell you what, let's clear those out because those are kind of crazy. If I right click up here, I can clear my time selection. And if I hit the home key on my keyboard, I can go back to the beginning.
In a world.
Now there's one more thing I want to show you, which is this show envelopes button down here. This is your envelope. And this is an easy way of raising the volume and lowering the volume at different points on your clip. Right here, I need to lower the volume a little bit because it gets so loud right here. I needed to raise the volume right here because I want that in a world to really be loud. It needs to be loud so that we can hear it on top of the choir and the strings. So right here, I inserted a keyframe at 0 decibels, which is like the normal loudness. And I inserted another keyframe right here at basically plus 5 decibels to raise up the volume so that volume is going to be loud enough that you can hear it.
In a world.
But then I brought the volume down over here to basically from basically plus 6 to plus 2 decibels. So that's going to lower the volume so that when we hit this word right here,
one man,
when we hit one man, it's not going to be too loud. And then I needed to raise it up over here.
And yes, there will be.
Needed to raise up the volume for the yes, there will be explosions because this explosion down here is so loud, you're going to need to hear my voice over top of that. So let's turn off the solo, and I'm going to mute these 2 takes that we didn't end up using because, well, just for fun. Let's keep them on and see how crazy that sounds. Oh, I'm not hearing anything. That's because the explosion is being soloed. Boy, that's confusing. The more tracks you have, the more confusing it gets. But they do this nice color coding thing to help you out. Let's listen to the confusion of having 3 voiceover takes all going at the same time.
One man will have the adventure of a lifetime.
Okay, just for fun, that was kind of crazy. But we're going to mute that one. I like this one. This is where I set my keyframes, and I do have my EQ on over here. Let's listen to the whole thing together and appreciate the cinematic beauty. So again, home key and spacebar.
In a world of magic and mystery, one man will have the adventure of a lifetime. And yes, there will be explosions.
Beautiful. I love it. So I know I threw a lot at you. I know you're not going to remember everything, but this is a nice introduction, and you can always continue learning about audio editing by watching YouTube tutorials, and maybe I'll produce some more audio stuff for you as well. Just depends what you're interested in. So let me know what you're interested in. Let me know if you think this sounds like a real movie trailer or if it's just kind of cheesy. Of course it is cheesy, but I also think it sounds super cool. Let's listen to it one last time, and then I'm going to sign off from you guys. And on this last playthrough, let's watch and make sure that this never gets anywhere up close to the 0 and we never get into the red where we're clipping our levels.
In a world of magic and mystery, one man will have the adventure of a lifetime. And yes, there will be explosions.
Cool. Well, happy audio editing, you guys, and I will talk to you later.